just heard is in D standard tuning. Yep, I just tuned my LTD M-1000 Deluxe to D standard, and as I started playing around with this more, it became evident that this specific tuning can cover multiple subgenres and styles of metal really well, and I'm about to share that with you. You're about to hear these multiple subgenres and styles. Now, of course, hang around. After that, we're going to have our usual guitar chat. I'm going to share why I tuned this guitar to D standard and what I plan to do with it, and I'll share some more tips as well. Alright, now it's time for our guitar chat. I'm going to share why I tuned this guitar to D standard and what I plan to do with this. And I've got a couple other tips in regards to down tuning as well. But first, if you don't have my free practice guide, Metal Riffs and Licks, there's a link in the description of this video. Make sure you grab a copy of that. Now, if you already have that, check out my guitar courses. I've got my flagship guitar course called Metal Riff Master. You can learn all about that and how that course can help you. If you're just beginning to play metal, you're just starting out, or maybe you need to revisit the basics, I also have a beginner's metal guitar course called Metal Guitar Apprentice. Again, the links for all of that and more is in the description of this video here. Why did I tune my LTD M-1000 Deluxe, which I've had this guitar since like 2009. I love it. I don't think I'm ever getting rid of this, but why did I tune this to D standard? Well, you guys might remember a while back, about 2 or 3 months ago, I tuned this same guitar to C# standard. I've got a couple videos out there, so I'll leave a link to the big video on that in the description of this video here if you guys want to check that out later, because man, I came up with some really just melodic death metal-y vibes and tones, just some brutal tones in that tuning. But I just decided, hey, I'd like to try D standard tuning on that guitar. So I, got the guitar out yesterday and just decided to tune it to D standard. Now, a quick tip on the tuning here. What I did, I left this back plate off. I've got the Floyd Rose on this guitar here. You've got the floating trim, right? So you've got the Floyd Rose. So that can be a pain whenever you start changing string gauges and drop tuning and down tuning and all that. So I left the back plate off when I tuned it to C# standard. So all I had to do in this case here to go from C# standard to D standard was I just tightened these screws in the back a little bit here, both those screws, until it was tuned to D standard. So that made it pretty easy for the most part. Now, if you're like going to some, extreme different tuning and using different gauge strings and all that, you might have some more issues. You want to keep your bridge basically floating there. But anyway, so I decided to go to D standard. The strings were actually a little floppy on the C# standard, and my goal was to not use huge strings. I just don't like thick strings unless I'm playing bass. So I was trying to tune as low as I could and get the tension just right with a gauge string that I prefer, that I like. So that was the goal. Now, real quick, a lot of you know that, and of course, I've been playing guitar since 1989, like eons ago. I can't believe I'm still alive, but here I am. Anyway, so I never got into drop tuning or down tuning or any of that until about a year ago. I started experimenting a little bit. Actually, I take that back. Most of you know I bought my first 7-string guitar about 4 years ago. I was recording an album that has some death metal vocals, my album that I released in 2019 called Masterpeace. And there's a link for that album in the description of this video as well. And I appreciate all the support on that album that you guys have given me over the years. So thank you so much. The album I'm working on now, 2022, I'm still working on that. That's coming, and I'll continue to keep you guys up to date. But anyway, so I got the 7-string because I wanted the lower notes without having to down tune or drop tune or any of that. I wanted those lower notes to fit the vibe and just the sound, the overall sound that I wanted for the Masterpeace album, and that worked out quite well. But again, fast forward a few years later, about a year ago, I started experimenting with different tunings here. I accidentally tuned one of my guitars to E flat standard. I had bought different gauge strings and didn't realize it, so as I was putting the strings on, it kind of migrated to that E flat instead of standard. I left it that way for a little while and then decided to go back to standard, and I've messed around with drop D. You guys probably saw my recent drop D on the Telecaster. I'll put a link in the description of this video. Got a lot of links in the description there for you guys, videos, and of course the links I mentioned earlier, my free practice guide and guitar courses. So be sure to check that out. Please spend some time in the description of this video. Got a lot of great resources for you guys. But not to get off track here, so I messed around with those tunings, and again, you guys know I recently, a couple of months ago, I had tuned this guitar to C#, and that was really as low as I've ever gone, with the exception, of course, of playing my 7-string, which is in B standard. But I just decided to go to D standard, and I really like the way that felt, the way that sounded. I mean, you guys heard all the different styles and subgenres. Now, of course, you can play any style in any tuning. It doesn't matter, but maybe you guys felt the same way, or maybe you didn't. But as you was hearing all of these different styles, it just, I don't know, it just fit. It really seemed to fit in this tuning. So I'm liking the D standard a little better than the C# standard tuning that I had. I just like, I don't know, the playability, and of course that has a lot to do with the strings. I think I have mediums on there. I'll have to double check that. I've got that documented somewhere. Now, one last note here. Am I planning on using D standard for anything? Guys, I'll be honest with you, I'm sort of on the fence on maybe putting this guitar back in standard tuning. I haven't quite decided yet. I am working on an entirely different project. I've been talking about this for a long time, but I haven't had a chance to work on it, to really focus on it. But there's kind of like a melodic death metal project that I'm working on, and that's probably not going to be in standard tuning. So this guitar very well may stay in D standard. I may try something else with it as well. I don't know yet, but I'll keep you guys up to date. I know a lot of you guys play in different tunings. Some of you play in standard, and I'll be honest with you, I'm probably always going to prefer standard tuning over anything else. But once again, you know, the reason I down tune one guitar is for a very specific project. There's a certain vibe that I want that I'm not quite able to capture in standard tuning. And you guys know my feelings on my 7-string. I've really struggled with that over the years. It's just, I don't know, it just never really felt at home playing that. Every time I go from 7 back to the 6-string guitar, it's like, oh, this just feels so much better. So the whole reason why I bought the 7-string again like 4 years ago was so that I didn't have to mess with down tuning and all that stuff. But here I am, like, I don't know if I like the 7-string. I think I like down tuning better. So hey, again, I love to share this stuff with you guys because this is Guitar Chat. This is what we do, man. This is what we love to talk about. So yeah, on that note, no pun intended, please feel free to leave your comments, guys. Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you're tuning to or what your favorite tunings are and what style of music you play with those tunings. I'd be interested to know that. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please give this a thumbs up, by the way. YouTube likes that, and I appreciate that. Make sure you're also subscribed to my channel and your notifications are on. I am putting out content on a consistent basis for you guys, and I appreciate you hanging out with me and watching these videos. But guys, until the next video, you know what to do. Keep it metal.